Good morning. Welcome to agoracentric.org update. I'm trying to talk with a booming voice, which I don't really have, because I want to talk a little bit about this homeless guy that was at the traffic stop and that now has a job as an announcer because he has an amazing, nice, good voice for a good program. And because it's positive, of course, because this guy got a job. But there's something else that is not positive about it, and that the way it's carried in the media, the way it's portrayed as a success story, is complete and utter nonsense. Of course, he's almost the thing that's going on that you might not see directly is that you are being conditioned to believe in a lottery model of prosperity and achievement. I thought that the US was a merit-based society where you achieve on your merit, and of course this guy achieves his new job because he has a very impressive voice. So that's true, but the selectivity and the complete randomness of his ascension, in a way, to the higher levels of society of getting a job, just teaches people that are now destitute and homeless and out there that they should hope for that they should kind of build their hopes on being discovered suddenly that they do have qualities, which does two things wrong. One is that they build their hopes in a false way, because of course it happens 1 in a million times, which is not a very good thing to hope for. And the other is that they will believe that their skills are still worth something. It's like a lottery ticket in their case, that they think, okay, I have a lottery ticket and I can win $1 billion. There can be two things wrong with it, and one is that you build all your hopes on that lottery ticket, and you only 1 in a billion people wins the prize, and the other one is that there's no lottery, that the ticket is not valid anymore. Somebody simply made lottery tickets and sold them, but there's really no lottery organization at all, or they're fake. But they hold on to that. And maybe they're desperate, and the more desperate they are, the easier it is to make somebody put his hope in one place and then be paralyzed and actually self-confident in the fact that they're adequate in what they're doing, that they're doing the right thing, and that they can remain decent and quiet and wait and be patient until that happens, which is complete nonsense. That shouldn't be the case at all. And the other way, the larger public, every now and then see, like the people that do have the jobs, that are in the bubble, that are in the, let's say, in the Trinity spaceship, being carried to the destructive future that I've been talking about, they see somebody being pulled up to their ranks, and they basically don't associate with him at all. He's a homeless person, a hobo, a bum, and now he becomes one of us. Of course, he was always one of the general public, but the general public just doesn't believe. The viewing public that sees somebody win the prize has two types of sentiments. One is that okay, good, well, okay, now he can come in, of course, because we're warm and welcoming and sympathetic people. On the other hand, it is really it is without merit that he finally ascended, and it's completely random, and we really don't need him. But it's nice, because we are giving people, not realizing that they only give 1 in a billion times, or that they only, it's like cutting social security and feeling good about this type of lottery systems. And it's the Gulag casino model that Max Keiser talks about, and that other people have talked about, that is being spread out to society, because it is really the cheapest way to keep people misdirected, wrong-footed, trusting in the wrong thing. And the only thing you need to do to kind of build the trust is to every now and then give out some prizes, or let's say if you have a lottery, then you give a lot of them, just like Oprah Winfrey does with her shows, where everybody goes completely moronic because they're all being taken to Australia. And then you hope that if you go to the opera show, that will be the show that she actually gives away these prizes. It's a lottery. It's very cheap. That's why lotteries exist. But it's the wrong thing to do, because it destroys the initiative and it builds a false pillar of hope. And a false, let's say a lighthouse somewhere where people watch and they say, okay, well, one day I'll win the lottery and I'll probably be able to dig myself out of this hole. Wrong. You can dig yourself out of the hole today. You just do it. Start digging. But it's always about creating beliefs rather than let's say demonstrating actions. Because it would be a different story if you kind of show that there's this man and he's a complete hobo and he's completely demoralized because he was a color variation consultant in a big industry, and he was like a little cog in a big machine. But then he found out that if he asked his neighbors if he could plant fruit trees there and maintain them, that they would allow him to, because he could be a gardener. And he did that, and after a while he had like 500 fruit trees around the area, and he could sell the fruit, and he'd give a piece of 10% to the owners or something like that of the proceeds. And he's an organic farmer, and now he's a prosperous man. And he works. You know, that's how he makes his living, because he works. You don't get those type of shows. That would mean that everybody would start walking around looking for, let's say, pieces of land where they can grow something. And then that would, of course, influence food prices, and the whole cartel would be in jeopardy. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to demonstrate that. Those are solutions. Those are actions. No, we need people to believe bullshit, and then make them wait until they starve. And we pick out one in it. You can almost make a calculation. How many people do you need to reward, and how easy it is to multiply the visibility of that reward. How easy it is to show somebody, a hobo, that got a chance. One of the millions in the US at the moment. 20 million people out of a job. No money for education. And of course it's all licensed and protected, so you can't educate each other. Just to demonstrate the whole process that's going on, I made a post on my Climate Babes website, and I'll link to it next to this video, which is about agriculture and organic farming versus fertilized-based farming. There's now a war in Africa, which is about the big companies trying to, the oil-based economy, let's say the financial oil-based economy, trying to get a foothold in Africa, and also trying to keep that continent under its thumb. Because you have to imagine that if there is really a huge food calamity in the US, which there will be, because there's no strong response against the dangers, and they're clearly identifiable, but they're not spread out in the media, then of course the US will collapse. That's what Mr. Rupert talks about. And India is a huge continent with lots of people, and they all made the wrong decision, and China has the same types of problem. It's also very, very big. Which continent will prosper? Africa, because it has water, it has land, it has sunshine. So what's happening right now is that there are companies going into Africa and talking to these leaders and saying, well, we're gonna subsidize and give you cheap fertilizer, so you can feed your people. And then, of course, the presidents go for that because everybody's happy. Same thing happened in Thailand. Huge farming subsidies and a near collapse. And in the end, the decision of Thailand, which I don't know what the conclusion was, but to no longer export food. Exported rice, because all the farmers had become dependent on the subsidies, which were used to pay for fertilizer, which were produced by the fossil industries. On the other hand, you have let's say the assault on Africa is to make these countries dependent on fertilizer, and you can see in the little video that I have on that post that people are on bikes and getting desperate, and there's a Dutch article that people are selling their mothers as slaves and actually mutilating themselves, selling body parts in order to get money for the fertilizer, because by the time you use it a few years, your land is dead and you cannot grow anything on it without fertilizer. It's dead. On the other hand, compared to the other video, which is above, so the order is different, a situation where in Uganda people are being educated to farm organically. And of course, and a very good technology is intercropping, which I also put on the Agrocentric website. Because what that means is that you grow different crops mixed up together. You know, how confusing, you know, you might almost panic to see like a courgette and an aubergine and a banana. I'm not sure what grows together, but yeah. Why? Because these plants, one catches the nitrogen, puts it in the ground, and the other gets it out of the ground and uses it up, and then the other has protective systems that kill the pest on the other plants, because of course, you know, that's just why for instance that's a different story, but why you let cows graze in meadows that were grazed in by horses, and you switch it around because the parasites don't really match, and they, you know, a cow doesn't mind eating grass next to horse manure, but a horse does. So you have to switch it around, and then you don't have to clean up the manure in your meadow. That's what I learned when I was really young, because I used to do horse riding. But just to see the contrast between the organic independence and autonomy and prosperity and the fertilizer, centralized, logistic, privatized, oil-based dependency, which is basically a genocide in the waiting. Because those supplies will be cut off at some point by a war or some excuse. And of course a war is also profitable, so you can almost plan the whole sequence of destruction of these countries. So I'm for local autonomy, for prosperity, and I do that on agrocentric.org website. And I just I'll put a link to the two videos next to this one. And it's also interesting because you see more and more people that are in the financial sector that now say, well, the Dow will go to parity with gold. 1 ounce of gold is I'm not sure why that is. Actually, I have no understanding of it. And on the other hand, if we want to know what's happened to the commodities, food commodities mainly, we have to wait for the harvest. So what we are seeing is that the world is changing from a financially governed world economy to a harvest-governed world economy, which is the way it is if you jeopardize agriculture in a way that is so irresponsible